In our previous episodes, we picked up our rental from Nomad America, headed south along the Pacific coast, discovering amazing beaches, thermal springs, waterfalls, and some great fried chicken. We explored the Osa Peninsula, where we saw some amazing birds and fish. We experienced the clouds and completely different scenery while driving across from the Pacific to the Caribbean, had our first tropical downpour at Punta Uva just north of Panama, which prompted us to head back across the center to escape to the North Pacific. And now it is time to get out of the San Jose traffic and find ourselves a beach. Finally, we've arrived here. As you can probably hear, here is a little bit windy. This time of year is the windiest in the north of Costa Rica, so we had somewhat expected this, but we have also heard that this year has been windier than normal. At least it's an offshore wind and it's still really warm. After getting a quick camp set up, we decided to cool off in the water, and boy was it ever refreshing. It is freezing cold. Oh hey, look, one of my old friends. Luckily no stings here. Again, it seems that no matter where you look here in Costa Rica, there's something interesting. Though, sometimes you may need to look harder than just a glance. The cactus intertwined with this tree doesn't really seem like a friendly place to be, but looking closer... Here we can see the cleverly disguised beach iguana clinging to the tree as it sways in the breeze. Basking in the sun, he seems quite at home and has no apparent fear of the height or being thrown from the ever-swaying branches. The mottled colouring of the iguana blends quite well with the tree bark, and if one is not paying attention, it's quite easy to miss completely. It often leaves one to wonder, what else is here that we are not seeing?
We think these little parrots are the half-moon conure or orange-fronted parakeet, and we get to know more of them up close at our next location.
With the constant wind here, we've had to get a bit creative with securing the awning, but by turning the truck around and finding enough rocks and string, we are managing to hold it down. As the afternoon wore on, the amount of smoke from the nearby wildfires was a bit concerning, but not as much as the blowing sand, which caused us to have our favorite meal inside the truck. That's right, it's taquijole time again.
Takis and frijoles for taquijoles and hot sauce.
The next morning, we had a camp visitor, probably looking for taquijole scraps in the calm, peaceful early hours of the day. Wait a minute, it's not windy.
Playa Iguanita is another one of Costa Rica's peaceful, secluded beaches, and is located in the Iguanita Wildlife Refuge in the Gulf of Papagayo. We will definitely come visit this beach again.
So this is what Playa Iguanita looks like when it's not blowing 40 kilometers an hour and sand blowing all over the place. And no smoke from forest fires. Nice and clean, smooth water. And that water is freezing cold. I mean freezing cold Canada standard, like your feet and legs go numb if you're standing in it for a while. And what we've come to understand is that it's something to do with the way the wind blows offshore is displacing the surface water, and it causes the lower level ocean waters to come into this bay. And that's why everything is so cold. This is Bahia Culebra, up in the North Pacific of Costa Rica. And one of the things that we were trying to figure out when we got here, we flipped the camera around, was whether this was a good camping spot underneath here. And we actually pulled in here and kind of ready to set up because it's really nice and protected. Big open space. But there's just one thing that we could not confirm, and that is the type of tree that this is and that is. So if you're a good tree identifier, maybe you can help us, but I was a little concerned that this is a manzanillo. And I don't know if any of you know what a manzanillo is. There's a good look at some of the leaves. There's a little fruit that grows on it. You can see there. Really nice space underneath here, but we could not confirm or deny through the use of Google, etc., that this was not a manzanillo tree. For those that don't know, a manzanillo tree, I believe, is the most poisonous tree in the world. And it says, if you eat the fruit, you die. If you're underneath it when it rains, you can get very sick. It actually says, don't even breathe the air around the tree. I don't know how serious that part is, but I'm not going to stay under here. But we decided that because we could not confirm that it was not a manzanillo tree, and we know they do grow around here, it was not worth the risk of a really nice campsite. And I don't think I saw anybody else underneath here the time that we spent here either, so that may be a bit of a sign. Time for a walk on the beach with things that won't kill us. As amazing as this place is, it's time to continue our exploration and move a little south along the North Pacific coast. Maybe we can find somewhere a little more protected from the wind. So once again, packing up and hitting the trail. In the very short time that we have been here, we have found that the Guanacaste province in the north of Costa Rica is quite different from what we've been exploring in the south. It's kind of like a different world. Well, this looks like a nice spot. We have ended today's drive at Playa Matapalo. While it's only about 20 kilometers southwest of Playa Iguanita, it's a north-facing beach and is quite different.
This beach is located right beside the Rio Guanacaste resort, so there is a bit more tourist traffic on the beach. We had a few people stop and ask us questions, as they had never seen a rooftop tent set up before and found it interesting. Even with being close to a resort, this spot was peaceful even at night, and you can't beat the price when it's free. Our usual morning entertainment, watching the birds peck the ground searching for food, or maybe our watermelon seeds. We also found the little orange-fronted conures in the tree above us. They burrow into a termite nest, which gives them the perfect heat and humidity control for their eggs. These sweet little birds were curious about us, and by the second day were brave enough to come out and watch us sitting below their nest.
As the morning progressed, the wind continued to pick up. It seems we were not able to escape this wind with the location change. An onshore wind, at times blowing sand in our faces, can make it hard to eat, but Krista got creative and came up with this interesting solution. Okay, it's properly windy here. The amount of sand in the air is even being picked up by the microphone, and even with the awning tied down, it's trying to lift off the ground. That said, it doesn't seem to be stopping the resort folks from going on day trips. The tourists are put into little pangas to shuttle on and off the bigger boats, but it seems a pretty high-risk game. I noticed these guys having some issues with their motor, but figured it's something they do all the time, and they had an easy solution. But apparently I was wrong. This doesn't look so good. Nope, that's not how it's supposed to go. At this point, I thought they could probably use a hand, as things seemed to be getting worse for them. The boat was filling with water, sitting on the bottom, and each wave was making it worse. Yeah, they need help for sure. Of course, right about here, the wind decided to knock the camera and tripod over, but I asked them what I could do to help. Their first concern was lifting the motor up out of the sand. Luckily, at this point, Krista had seen the camera fall over and set things back up. With the motor out of the sand and the ratchet strap that had fouled the prop removed, they were trying to bail the water out by hand, which was completely futile. Each wave that broke over the boat was just putting more water in, and we needed to get the boat turned so it wasn't sideways into the waves. Being full of water, this was nearly impossible to do. With the help of a couple of other panga crews, we eventually managed to get the boat turned bow into the waves so we could control the incoming water a little bit more. Eventually, enough water was removed that they could get the boat underway and out of the surf. I guess you never know what to expect when you're sitting on the beach. Time for some dry clothes and more watermelon. As the winds calmed down in the evening, the day-tripping tourists were returned to the beach in what appeared to be a much safer manner, perhaps glad to have their feet back on solid ground. We enjoyed a stroll along the beach before the sunset and prepared for another peaceful night beside the ocean. I hope you've enjoyed this part of our Costa Rica adventure. Make sure you come back next time when we encounter this guy and his group of friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing and hit the bell so you get a notification. Give us a like and a comment if you have any questions for us, and of course, check out the video description for our associate links.